gonna fail.
All right. Hey, let's walk through it now. Apologies, this is a copy of a copy, sorry. I took a picture of it at home and I forgot to bring the actual like guide here, so I just copied my copy of it and it looks terrible. Ignore it. All right, so.
Board, I think almost everybody missed that one.
Which one?
Number 4.
Or, okay, we'll talk about it. All right, so
I
the
see
luxury
what I
stand,
do.
kind of expensive, got a bunch of options. The options add up to about $2,000, but that makes sense. I mean, these are almost $1,000 options. So $2,000 worth of options, you have shipping and handling. You add them all up, you got 46,989 or something like that. Let's move, let's work on number 2. Number 2 here, we have trade-in value and a rebate. You just subtract them off. Right, you're getting trade-in value for the car you're trading in, so they're going to come. That comes off the top of your car, and that's if you own it outright, or maybe it's worth more than what you still own. That happens sometimes. You paid a lot off of it, and sometimes they'll give you positive equity, so they'll subtract it off the top. So you're getting it for a little bit of a discount, and you get a rebate. They give you cash back on newer cars. They usually do that. So the new vehicle you're going to buy is about 11. So maybe that's a good deal to you. Maybe that's exactly what you're paying now. That's kind of a smart decision. If you can get a newer vehicle for about the same payments, kind of a no-brainer sometimes. It just keeps you up to date on a newer car.
I kind of like that teal Jeep in Gardner. That's cool.
I'm not a fan. Not a fan. All right. Anyway, number 3. This sounds like a lot of people got this one wrong, or was it the next one?
4.
4. Okay. So all right, let's finish number 3 here. All right. Cash price of the car. You got a down payment. So when I subtract the down payment, really the price you're paying for the car is $7,485. That makes sense, right? You made your down payment, so really the loan you have to take out is just for this, after you made your down payment. Now, they told you what your loan can be after you made your down payment. So they're saying, okay, you're paying $170 for the next 48 months. So I would really quickly do a quick calculation and go, okay, that's about $8,100, $8,160, and then compare it to what I was gonna pay them in cash price. Well, they're off by about $600. That ain't bad, that's the interest. That's a really low interest number. I think there was actually somebody in here actually calculated what that percent was. It was really tiny. What was it?
It's like 0.97%.
Yeah, so 9, it was, yeah, so 0.9, so it was less than 1%.
It was the wrong answer, but like.
Yeah, but I appreciated the actual number because I actually wanted to talk about that. So it was less than 1% in interest. Not a bad vehicle to buy. I'd actually go with that one. Okay? So that was just something I wanted you to know. I wanted you to find the interest you're gonna pay for the car, just for the car. So you had to compare that to the deferred price, and deferred price where you take off the down payment. Okay? The maximum you pay is you're paying the down payment plus these, so, but yeah. Next, Wesley lives in a low risk area. That was probably the number one thing people missed. He lives in low risk area.
I've seen low risk. I think I typed in the wrong number.
Yep, so low risk, so you're in this bottom row automatically because he lives in low risk. He's going 40/80 coverage, so that's the 340. And he's going with the 25 coverage for property, so that's the 61, I believe. And so you add those two together, and so you get a total premium or policy of $401. Now, that's doing the low risk and the coverage he wants. Now, he does have a factor. He does have a factor on his policy because he has a poor driving record. So the idea is that he has to multiply whatever that policy number is by his factor of 1.48. That's a high policy number, by the way. High policies are when they're up to almost 2.
593.48.
Yeah, 593.48. So
$13
I'm trying to, when I try to make my answer, I try to show you as much detail as possible. I know that seems silly, but sometimes it's just nice to see what you needed to do, what you got wrong. It's worth 3 points, obviously. First page is worth 12. So you can see that total. So you can. I always try to put the points off to the side to see what you missed. Oh, I only missed 1 point here. I missed 2. You know, so how I was grading it, that type of thing. Okay, let's move on to the next page. So let's see. Zoom out. Let's see. There it is. Is that the? No, that's the last page. That's the last page. Where am I at? I lost my cursor. Where am I at? Oh, all right. There we go. Let me just use the arrows. There we go. Second page. I must have skipped it. Okay, so second page, beginning and ending mileage. When you actually subtract, you put about 65,000 miles on this car. 65,580.7. You divide by how many years you've owned the car, so you're putting about 10,000 miles a year. That's pretty good. That's pretty average. So again, I subtracted the 2 to figure out what my difference in mileage was and divided by how many years. This is the miles per year. That's pretty good. Next, gas mileage. You have a beginning and ending mileage. I subtract them, so I went about 491 miles, and I only used 6 gallons of gas. That's really good gas mileage. 400 miles for about 6 gallons of gas. You're getting about 81 miles per gallon. probably what's happening, you either have a really nice hybrid vehicle or somehow you're drafting really well and you're not using your accelerator a lot. Because that can happen. You can average out like crazy numbers if you follow a semi sometimes. So it's just kind of wild when you start to see how those things affect you. Next, range of the vehicle. Your EPA, your miles per gallon. I multiply by gallons. What will happen, the gallons will cancel out and you'll be left with mileage. You'll go about 513 miles plus. Next one, number 8. You have miles and miles per gallon. If I divide, the gallons will flip to the top because they're not diagonal from each other. And you'll be left with 7.5 gallons of fuel to go on that trip if you get 20 miles per gallon. So you have to fill it about one time. 9, distance. You have miles in minutes. I converted the minutes to hours. So 24 divided by 60. That was 0.4. Somebody made a mistake and said 24 divided by 60 was 0.04. That's 0.4. Okay. So you have to add that to 21. So it's 21.4 hours. So miles per hour, I divide them. And it was 51 miles per hour. So it was pretty slow. Or you had to be in the ballpark. So I know some people use different decimal places than me, but you had to be in the ballpark for that. All right, last one, last page here. Okay, you want 56 miles and you average about 42 miles per hour. If you divide that, the hours will be how long it took you to go there, and it took about 1 hour and 20 minutes. That should make sense because you are traveling slower than the distance you're going. So it should be over 1 hour. You're going 42 miles in 1 hour. That's what that speed meant. So you took over an hour, but not quite 2. 2 hours have been about 84 miles. So we definitely did over 1 hour. So that's just kind of how to ballpark it. 11, you have miles per gallon. Now I had 2 different answers here depending if you use that little 9 that I printed. If you didn't use the 9, you just said $1.48 times 19 gallons, you spent about 28 bucks. If you'd use the 0.9, so 1.489, you'd have spent just a slightly bit more. You'd spend about 17 cents more. So keep that in mind. That little 0.9 made a difference, 17 cents over the long run. That's actually a difference in price. Some people always think like, oh, I'm going to go over to get gas in Mason. Mason's cheap. I'm going to go to Fleet Farm and get buy some candy and get that little coupon for 4 cents off. 4 cents per how many gallons you have in your tank isn't going to save you anything. If you have a 10-gallon tank, you're saving about 40 cents. Not worth it to me. Sorry, I'm just going to get gas here. I'll save my 40 cents by not driving there. So yeah, so that's just something that I think people always find that weird. They just don't think that through. Now, this last one, I think, to me personally, when I looked back at the test, this is the one that I thought caused the most issues. It was just because little things got caught up. Radiator, 150 bucks. You bought 2 gallons of antifreeze at $6.99 each. So $6.99, $6.99. That was probably the number one thing people missed. They only did the $6.99 ones. So 2 $6.99s. Then they had 6 $1.45s for the spark plugs. 145, 145, 145, 145, 145. And I kept going across the board. You can't see them all. But that was $172 in parts. Then you had to take it times your taxes. So it got me up to 184 because 7% tax was about, I think it turned out to be about 11, 12, 13 bucks, something like that. And then you added together to get 174, and then you had to add in your labor. You worked 2 hours at $55, so that was $110 in labor. When you add these two together, your total bill, I don't even know if I have it, here it is, was $294. I think the goofiest answer that I saw in this one, it was just a simple mistake. They did all the math right up until the point where it went wrong, where they did the 172.68. That was the price, I think, of all the parts. They multiplied by 0.07 for tax, and they got $11 or $12. I think it was 11 something, okay, whatever it was. Okay, and they said that was the price of all the parts, and they added it to the labor. And they said, okay, your bill is going to be about $121 or something like that. Okay, number one, if you read the problem, how much was the radiator? 150. It's over 121 right there. So it should have been like a red flag, like, I think you forgot to do something. You forgot to add the tax back into your parts, and then add that to your total. But yeah, simple little mistakes, easily fixed. Again, if you'd like to take a retake, there's no limit on the score. I mean, anyone can retake it. If you got a perfect, sure, retake it. I don't know why you would. You can retake it. It is due by Thursday this week. Thursday, because then the quarter's Friday. I need to get them graded by Friday, so.
Quarters this Friday?
Friday. So all makeup work needs to be turned in for all classes. So keep up on your grade book and all that good stuff. So if you're missing stuff for other classes, if you're missing stuff for me, maybe you noticed a bunch of LIs in the grade book. It's due by Thursday this week. If you walk in here Friday like, oh Lord, I forgot to turn in my stuff yesterday, I will politely tell you the recycling bin's back there. Due by Thursday. I don't want to have to do that to anyone. Okay. All right. Got it? Okay, perfect. I'm going to walk around and take those back. Those are mine. If your parents would like to come to parent-teacher conferences, I have 3 ways they can contact me. They can email me and set up a time personally, one-on-one, face-to-face. I'm fine with that. As long as they're okay with wearing a mask, I will require that. If they are not comfortable doing that, they can Zoom with me. And they can email me and we can set up a Zoom time. Or if they don't like Zooming or they're not computer illiterate, I don't know what's going on back there.
I'm shitting.
Oh, okay. All right, she's mulching. All right,
And Brandon gets it.
all right. I guess I just don't. All right. All right, but anyway, if they would like to talk to me, via phone call, that's fine too. It's just I want to have options out there for parent-teacher conferences. That's next week, Tuesday and Thursday next week. I believe we do not have classes on Wednesday next week, so keep that in mind.
Why do we not?
It's parent-teacher, it's a PD time where teachers have like a whole
So
day
you going to
meeting.
school at all?
No, not next Wednesday.
Nice.
So yeah, but teachers do. But if your parents want to go to parent-teacher conferences, they can come in personally, see me. Just make sure they have a mask and they're aware of it. And if they're not comfortable with that, they can Zoom me or call me. So make that option to them. I love talking to parents because I like to see how you act just like them. And I always think that's really funny to see, like how the personalities come through. So,
I think I got most of it.
okay, all right. All right, did I get everyone's test? Okay, those are gonna go in the grade book, actually probably before you leave today. My goal is to just intro the section that we're in, and then that's it. So let me hand out what we're talking about today.
What's for lunch today?
Lunch today, chicken tenders. All right, now, I think I did an okay job here. Sorry, it's a little faded. We gotta talk about a few things here. Okay, this is a handout. I'm gonna take this back so you don't lose it. We're gonna use this for our next, we're gonna use this for our next couple days in here. So this will kind of guide some of our questions here. So. All right, what you're looking at here, copyright infringement. I don't claim to have copied this at all.
Yeah.
All right, what you're looking at is a road map of Iowa. So in fact, I'm gonna pull it up here on the little marker board so you guys can see it. Now obviously you have your copy in front of you, but let me pull it up here in front of you. I think it's important you get to see this. I'm gonna bring up my copy here. Don't cause any issues today.
Well, hey, Ward, before we get into this, I have a question.
Yes.
Is a round trip flight ticket to a European country priced at like $1,000 or $1,200 a good price?
Depends on how many days you're there. Things I consider is how many layovers do you have to get there? Because maybe you're going for 2 days, right? You're going, let's say it's a 2-day or a 3-day trip. And they have you for the first day bouncing all over Europe just to get to the airport. And you waste a whole day just on airlines. Not a good price.
I'll be there for a week, and I'll be going to Chicago and then over to Finland, and then my destination.
Now, here's also to consider. Europe is back in lockdown again. So no traveling in or out.
It's snowing in Eagle Grove.
It's snowed last night a little bit. So we're supposed to get more than an inch tomorrow, supposedly.
No school, no school.
Yeah, don't call that already.
If only.
Yeah, no
What if you say
school.
like I'm cut to Zoom?
You could pull a Texas and be like, no school.
Alright, let's see.
In October.
Texas got like 2 inches of snow in 12 days.
Well, they don't give snow down there.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's overreacting.
Off mountain.
Mother Nature's.
Yeah. They, They get an inch of snow and cancel for a week. That'd be fun.
That kind of sounds like us last year. We were canceling when we were supposed to get a whole bunch, and then we get nothing.
Yeah.
And,
Which is awesome.
And then we use up all of our school days. And then when that big storm hit, we took all that off, and then we had to make up like a week or two.
That was
We
fun.
didn't have to make up
Yeah,
anything.
Yeah, we didn't have to make up anything.
That
Well,
was,
that was-
that was so funny for us. That was your freshman
all right,
year.
I'm gonna pull up here on the marker board, sorry.
Better safe than sorry. You're supposed to do like inch of snow and cancel school. If it doesn't come, it doesn't come.
Okay. This is our last thing I want to cover today. I promised you we'd look at a map today, and I'm trying to get it popped up in my. Aha! It finally came up. Yes. All right. It's gonna be a little blurry. I rotated the wrong way. All right. It's gonna be a little blurry, but you guys get the idea. All right. So what you're looking at is a road map of Iowa. It is an actual Iowa map from back, I think, in 2018. So it's a little bit older, but they got mostly the stuff we need on it. Let's talk about some of these things. So. Anyone know what the yellow dashed lines are?
Road,
Highway.
Nope.
interstate.
They're county lines. So
Oh.
between Hancock and Cerro Gordo. So right between Hancock and Cerro Gordo, it's right where,
Ventura.
yeah, it's right, the corner that goes up to the little German white church out there. Germantown out there. That's where the cemetery is, kind of going on Highway 18. You'll see it out in the country. That's the line, like you're about to cross into Cerro Gordo. It's the next gravel road after that. It was Apple Avenue is right where it's at. So you're like really close to that border. It's the next gravel road. You'd see it. It's like right there. It's right at the top of the hill where those trees are. That's the best way I can put it. Not quite to the gun club. So here's that gravel road right before that. Now, that's the county lines. The red line here, 18th highways. They mark them with that little shield symbol. That's a major highway. That highway, if you look, there will be road signs every now and then that will say, you know, distances to different towns. I always find it super funny, like right outside of Ventura as you go on Highway 18, they have a sign that says, it's like right before you hit, you go right past Kelson's Pond there with the pine trees and that weird hill of dirt. There's a sign that says Highway 18, Madison, Wisconsin's like 231 miles. Because you can keep taking 18 all the way to Wisconsin. It travels all the way there. It's just kind of a weird sign. But these shields mean that's the major highway. You can see other major roads, you know, like Highway 69 here going down south of Garner. If they're county road, they're usually circles. They're not a major highway. There's county roads. They have little numbers. I know this is like impossible to see in your little copy. They have little numbers that are in between these roads. That's the mileage to the next town. It's like almost borderline impossible to see on yours.
18,
Yeah,
14.
yeah. So there's like over here, right past Algona, there's like a little 9, or there's one going up that says 21 and 15. It's the mileages that you're taking between roads to get there. So if you're taking a trip, you can actually count by hand how many miles it will take you to get there. So some people use that. If you want to know how many miles it is to go somewhere. Most people just use their smartphones anymore because it's way faster.
Are there also mile markers like along the road?
Yeah. So it'll tell you at that point. Yep. On major interstates, there's the interstates here in green. They usually mark interstates in the kind of the shield, but it's darker. It's supposed to be blue, but you can hardly see it. The big thing is on that, they will have where your exits are clearly marked with boxes. They'll have usually road markers and how many miles it is right next to it. You should always notice on the side of the road, you know how they have those little metal poles with a little shiny reflector? There's 10 of those before the next mile marker. So if you keep track of what mile marker you're on, and you count how many hash marks, if you break down, you're like, oh, you know, I'm past, you know, interstate marker, highway, or mile marker 121, and I'm about, you know, 6 past it. Well, you're 0.6. So you're at mile 123.6. So they know exactly where to come pick you up. Instead of going, well, I'm just in between, you know, Dow's and Ames. Yeah, you should tell them a mile marker. You're being kind of vague because there's about 70 miles between there. So they don't want to drive all day to find you.
And
They,
then you have to pay a lot.
yeah, you have to pay a lot. They mark the major towns in circles, or if they're a bigger town, metropolis, they have them marked in yellow. They have to be over a certain population to be marked that way. I think it's like over 10,000 people, they mark it in yellow now. So Clear Lake happens to be that. Algona happens to be very, very close to that. Garner doesn't. I think we're sitting at like 5,000 or something like that, so we didn't get the luxury of having the big yellow blob yet. But you can kind of see where other towns are. You can kind of see where they're marked out, so you get a sense for where you're going. This is just something that a lot of people just don't understand. They just don't know how to read a map, especially like with these dashed lines that go diagonally. Anyone happen to know what those are? They're dashed. Yeah, they're railroads. Yeah, so you can see kind of where the railroad tracks go, how many there are when you're coming up on one. Why that's important, if you're a professional truck driver, you might have to stop at every single one. So you might want to take a route that you don't have to hit so many railroad tracks. So you got to kind of pay attention to that. It's something you actually have to be well aware of. There's other markers. There's rivers that are marked in blue. They're kind of snaking all over. They do have the counties listed by name. They're just in red. It's really faded. It does say Winnebago and Hancock and Sarasota and Worth and Kossuth. So they do have all the counties around us. That's something that I just don't have memorized. I just don't know the counties around us. I know those like 5 or 6. I don't know the ones that are south of us. I have no idea what Belmont's in. I don't know what county that is.
Why is Kossuth County so big?
It's just big. They go by population. So yeah, so that's kind of the weird thing. They go by populations. That's how it was broken up. So that every voting area had about the same population. That's why like Saragoto's significantly smaller than some. Like it doesn't look like it, but it is actually bigger, or it's actually smaller than Hancock, because Hancock, when you have the towns, they try to get to a certain population density. Like when you go down to Des Moines, there's tons of like little counties that are all really broken up really close together, right around Story and Polk and all those. So it's one of those things, they try to keep it even. There's 99 counties in the U.S., or in Iowa, I should say. Not the U.S., but 99 counties in Iowa. We could easily, if we broke up Kossuth, we could have 100 even. That's the biggest one, I think, in Iowa.
Why didn't they split it?
Again, it came down to population. So it came down to, there wasn't any major towns. These are all really small towns, all separated by really long distances. The only big one was Algona, and everything else had like less than 1,000 people. So they didn't want to have, a county that had a courthouse for, population of like maybe like 300 people. That seems a little odd. So, but yeah, it's one of those things you just don't realize all the stuff that's involved here with maps. When we take it for granted, we have maps for everything. I mean, you can go to any rest stop, down the interstate, and they'll just have maps there. You can just grab one for free. I usually, like, if I go up to Minnesota for like a Twins game or something, I always try to pick one up as I'm going across the border. It's one of those things I always just like to get the new one every other year whenever I go up there. I haven't been up there for a while. I haven't traveled since COVID and whatnot, but it is just kind of nice to have one in your car, because when technology fails, at least you know where you're at, how to get there. Sometimes I have a compass in there. Question?
Okay, so every once in a while I have to go pick up my sister's stepson in Buffalo Center, and
Buffalo Center,
we drive all the way down to Wesley, and we go right.
So yeah, so you drive all the way to Westland, and then you turn right, and then you have to like come back a little bit. Yeah, I mean, yeah, same thing.
That route does work a little bit.
Yeah, if you went up to Forest City, and you turned left, it'd take you right there. You just have to go around the bend a little bit. Yeah.
See, that's what I was gonna do the first time when I had to go pick him up, but she told me no.
Yeah, it just depends on the time of year. I would not go north of Forest City if it was winter.
Yeah.
Just because they don't plow the roads very well there. Yeah, it's just one of those things. Like, you can get different routes. You can take some gravel roads sometimes, get the same places. It's kind of fun to get out, and if you have a map, you can kind of follow it and kind of know where you're at. Especially when you hit major roads, you know what road you should be on. So, yeah, it's just kind of fun. Kind of know where the towns are from each other. Okay, it was one of those things I wanted you to see this, because what we're going to be looking at for our first assignment is where I'm going to give you a couple questions about our maps. You're going to get a physical map. You're not going to get one of these weird copies. You're going to get a physical map, and you're going to have to answer some questions like, hey, in this county, How many railroad tracks do you see? How many airports are marked on the map? You know, you're gonna get a physical copy of the map in front of you. Okay, does that make sense? Because I'm gonna have some extra copies. I'm gonna go up to the courthouse and get a bunch. So they'll just give me a few for Iowa. So it's kind of nice, and we can use them in class. You guys can actually look at a real physical map. So I just thought it was kind of easy for the first day. I don't need to go up to the county lines or the actual courthouse today to do it. So, all right, questions with what we're gonna be doing the next couple days in here? Okay. After this, then we're gonna use some technology because there's some things we're gonna need to calculate eventually. I'm gonna go longer distances. So we'll start looking at that and other types of maps and stuff. All right, I'm gonna walk around. I'm gonna collect my little map here. Sorry. It's kind of nice to see it, but we are going to look at those at a later time. There's going to be a rhyme and reason to this madness here later. Some serious math we have to do here in about a week.
Why, are you taking a trip?
No, just the math that's involved is pretty heavy for a consumer math. All right, so that's it for today. Pretty easy.